Hey, what's up guys? My name is RefraQ and welcome to a brand new tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how I made my track Witching Hour. I'll probably actually get up to just after the drop, I suppose. This will probably be like a 2 or 3 part series just because I want to keep the videos relatively short. But yeah, so if you don't know, Witching Hour is a track I made about a year ago. I released it on a label, well, not a label, but a collective I'm part of called Soda Island. It's probably my favourite track I've actually made, despite it being incredibly simplistic. Yeah, so basically, the intro, if you haven't heard it, is... It's literally just like ambience and some random MIDI notes. So I've got my ambience bus here. Literally, it's just a combination of sound, like just field recordings and stuff. So this sound, this was just pulled from, it's actually pulled from 99 Sounds, which is just a website where you can get loads of free samples. And it was just part of the white noise sample pack, and it was just drop noise, and it was like bandpassed. Yeah, and then we've got another. Oh no, this was a stem I made ages ago for one of my old tracks, back when I made music on my iPod, along with this. Very quiet, and this as well. Just panned slightly left and right. As well as that, we've got some crickets. Fairly subtle, but yeah, it just kind of enhances the feel of like being on an island at night. Along with these peeling waves. Again, fairly subtle, but overall, yeah, that's the general ambience. So, along with that, we've got just some random MIDI spamming here. I think this was just a little patch I made where it's basically just a sine wave and operator with a pitch envelope and some ping pong delay, and it's, yeah, I literally just kind of hit my MIDI keyboard. Honestly, that's exactly what I did, and it's kind of, that was just the desired effect I wanted. So I used that. As well, we've got, yeah, this is just this is like a vocal a cappella ad lib thing. Actually, so this is it here. Original sound was probably something like this, without all the weird warping and stuff. And yeah, F sharp, because I was in F sharp major. Probably the easiest key to write in. I'll probably get to that later. Okay, so that's that. I don't even know how this was. I'll just undo. There we go. Perfect, right. So that's that, and it's just kind of enhancing the ambience of being kind of alone at night on an island. What else? Oh yeah, this is just a little synth melody. Again, I was just spamming my MIDI keyboard. This is just kind of to, I suppose, introduce the synth that is brought in later in the build-up. Nothing really too complex. I think the patch was for that was, yeah, just operator, sine wave, and a looped noise oscillator here with the chorus turned up. Slightly grim parody, but he doesn't mind, I don't think. Well, I hope not. Yeah, some side chaining to the kick. That's basically it. And yeah, just before it gets the build up, we've got this riser here. It's just a stretched out piano chord, and then this random sound effect. I think I literally just pulled that from a sample pack. I was quite lazy. And that's it. Apart from this breath here, I always like adding like breath sounds or just general ASMR sounds within my music, as a lot of you kind of already know. I like the idea of having a human sort of influence on electronic music. Anyway, this was actually pulled from, I just sampled this from a track. I just panned it left and right. got rid of the low end. Or did I even? I don't think I did anything to this. No, it was already like that. Yeah, I just pulled it from a Lucas track. So I hope he's not watching this. Sue me for copyright. SoundCloud will get pulled as well. Anyway, so that's the intro. This kind of leads into the start of the build-up. In this section, yeah, I take away a lot of the ambience here. Okay, I was just checking I was still recording because I did just record a take of this and the Zoom failed on me. Yeah, so yeah, I pulled a lot of the ambience out here, a lot of the stems, and just left the waves here, and the ambient noise. Except this time I've just pitched it up 48 semitones and stretched it out. Along with that, we've got these leaves here, and then resampled leaves. The idea of this, despite it not actually sounding particularly pleasant, it's kind of a abrasive sound, I suppose. The idea was just basically... Sorry if you can hear my dog barking there, just kind of ignore that. The idea was to contrast with the drop, because the drop, a lot of the elements are just removed, and it's basically just... yeah, it's just a sub and some, like... weird other ASMR recordings and the chords. So this like really kind of starkly contrasts with it just because of how high-endy and abrasive it is, and this just continues right up to the drop. Along with that, just got this kind of delayed bubble thing. Yeah, I'm gonna have to turn that off for a minute, just because. What else? We've got, okay, so right, so basically for the build-up, it was just a gradual addition of synthesizers. All were very, very simplistic. So the first played the chords here, and that was literally just, actually I kind of overcomplicated this. This was 2 operator patches. One was just a sine wave, one was a square wave, and I just automated the volume of the square in and out here to create a build-up effect or whatever. So if I just skip forward to this part, so that's with the square, and obviously without, and then it gradually builds like that. So that was literally kind of the core of the song, really, despite it being incredibly simple. Along with this auto pan, which gives it that wobbling effect. So yeah, that was set to 124 just because I like the idea of triplets or triplet subdivisions. I think they groove really nicely. So that's the main synth, really. Nothing hugely complex. Then the sub gets brought in, 4 bars or so later. And the sub was weird because I ended up high passing it and then removing the low cutoff for the drop, just again to contrast, or just to contrast between the build up and the drop. So yeah, so again this is automated with some auto pan, and it's set in mono. But a lot of people have been asking me about this patch, thinking it's some crazy like FM stuff, but it's not. I just literally opened up operator. I didn't touch it at all except for turning this pitch envelope on, and I just automated the second oscillator, which was also set to a sine wave, with this this kind of, I don't know what they call this thing, but this sort of mix between the oscillators, which is just the default one. So yeah, you can hear it kind of. Oh no, you can't. I need to play it from the start. So you can hear that sort of WOM sound was from automating this, and that was literally it. Nothing complex. It's just kind of a bog standard sub with another oscillator on top. Which brings me to this synth, which was... I don't know why there's 2 of these. 1 minute. No, I don't. But there's 2 of these synths, and they play this nice little melody, which was literally just kind of improvisation on my MIDI keyboard. A lot of this I don't actually write. I just kind of click record and just mess around in the key that I'm in, seeing what sounds nice. So that was just basically done by this. I was in the key of F sharp major, as I said, which is a very, very easy key to write in, plainly because it's just literally black notes in the pentatonic version, plus F and B if you're using the full key. So it's just really simple to write in, because it's a lot easier to improvise on the black keys than it is to say remember just a key signature with both white and black keys in. Anyway, it kind of resolves to this like descending arpeggio. Well, it's not. It's like just a descending pattern. Again, that was just from messing around on the on my keyboard, and I think I added in these little preemptive kind of, I can't even remember what they're called, like acciacatures or something, just before some of the notes, just to give it a more light-hearted sort of feel. Yeah, I kind of like that effect. And that just repeats again for the second half of the build-up here. That's why there's a second one, because that ends up dying out and just leaving one channel. Not quite sure why I did that, but it's there anyway, so there's no point in doing anything to it. This is the third synth of the drop. Is it fourth? Not the drop, build-up. Again, shameful, because it's just another sine wave patch with a triangle laid over the top with some vibrato from this LFO here. Extremely basic, actually. This also has some chorus on it. Just a bit more stereo enhancement and kind of a bit more excitement on the high end. Some high passing here and some stereo delay, which I think I'll use later on. And that's it, really. Combination of all the elements. Actually, we've also got this clap thing, where basically it kind of increases in volume here, and actually also in stereo width. Yeah, again, that's just a contrast between the build-up and the drop, just because I think contrasts work extremely well within simple music like this. Just because it adds to that wow factor, really. That's basically that. It's not really that complex. It's just some compression. This reverb here, which is high passed. Another high pass filter just to get rid of all the low end, and don't really do anything to the decay time or any of this, really. I don't know why that's automated. Anyway, yeah, that's for contrast reasons. And then this thing, which is just a resample of that sound. Just like a giant sweep up to lead into the next section. Literally, that's it. These effects carry on, obviously, these field recordings. And you've got this little wave riser thing right before the drop. And that's it. That's the intro and build-up. I'll actually just go over the first part of the drop just because of how basic it is. The main thing to remember when making this sort of music is just that you've got to... Well, I find that it works best if you, say, add in elements for a certain part and then remove them for another part and have that in very strategic phrases, and that contrast will I kind of find it usually gets people's attention quite easily, just because it catches you off guard as such. So anyway, for the drop, I'll get to that later. I'll start off with a kick. It was literally just a kick I pulled from a sample pack, with some saturation, which is automated for some reason. I don't actually know why I did this. I think, yeah, that's with the saturation. It must have been just to make the kick stand out in certain parts, which is fair enough, but yeah. I also added a bit of a low-end boost around 100 Hz here, and a mid-boost just to add more presence. Looking back on a lot of this stuff, I feel like I didn't know entirely what I was doing just because this track's like more than a year old now. And some chorus here. I don't know why the hell there's chorus. Oh yeah. This was the second drop was kind of weird, so I just chorused the kick. There's no real reason why, I just did it. I've also got this like sweep up for the kick, this tiny little thing, which basically, yeah, that just kind of makes the kick stand out a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, so percussion, very straightforward. It's literally, I just had this continuous triangle. That just like continues all the way through. It's like this constant element within the song. That's really it. It's the only thing in my percussion folder. Okay, so we've also got... Alright, yeah, so this is the synth that's just carried on playing these chords. Actually, I didn't properly show you what the chords were. I should have done that. Basically, I didn't automate anything. I just wrote these chords in. These were literally just major triads with an added seventh. And that was literally it. These are just like seventh chords right now. And I find if you know what notes are in a key signature and just experiment by adding them in, 90 times out of 100 they'll sound fine, because especially in a major scale, I find like a lot of my favorite producers, they don't know huge amounts about like music theory, but for example, they'll write some of my favorite chords I've ever heard. So I feel like you can get away with just experimenting with what notes are in the key signature and just writing them in. So yeah, nothing more complex there than just major triads in F sharp major. And if you want the MIDI for these chords, I'm more than happy to send it out, or anything else in this project for that matter, because the idea is that I kind of show you the process of it. Anyway, for the drop, I feel like they're out of key now. Yeah, it does this sometimes. This is weird. Sometimes you just need to offset it with pitch bend. Or maybe I'm just going insane, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I feel like it's pitched up a few keys. Anyway, you know what it sounds like, and again, this is just like a weird, I don't even know what chord this is. It's like an inversion of some sort with a seventh, and laid with a sub, which is now, it's got the low end on, obviously. All these elements are sidechained to the kick. Also, we've got this little arpeggio thing, which just kicks in every 4 bars or so. Yeah, panned hard right. Yeah, that's just kind of to introduce each phrase. Lastly, or not lastly, but we've got these claps as well, which, I recorded this sound with my mouth, actually, like a long time ago. Like, I just recorded it off my iPod or something. And I kind of like the texture of that, so I threw that in as the clap, and then layered it with this like sample from 99 Sounds, and that just comes in every other clap. Anyway, there's that, and lastly we have this bubble sound. And that was literally just to add a bit of texture, because without that it sounds very sparse. Yeah, so that's really it, actually. I'll probably at some point in the near future do a part 2 to this, because I didn't cover a huge amount of the song. I just want to keep the videos relatively short, as I said. Yeah, that's it. I mean, if you guys have any other requests for videos, let me know. I'm more than happy to break down any of my tracks, because right now I'm not feeling hugely inspired to make music, so I thought I might as well cover another bass somewhere, whilst I can, I suppose. So yeah, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, bye.